NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here as Pro Football Focus has a brand new mock draft out. And on today's show, we are going to run through every single pick, share my thoughts on the good, the bad, and the ugly from this new mock draft from PFF. Let's get started with the Chicago Bears. No shock. End up with Caleb Williams, quarterback from USC. And Chicago Bears fans would be very happy, I imagine, after all they've gone through with Justin Fields and company if they pair him up with, if they end up getting Caleb Williams when it's all said and done. Speaking of pairing him up, that is where they get the number 2 pick, courtesy of the Carolina Panthers from the trade last year. And they find Caleb Williams a receiver. Not just any receiver, a generational talent, and Marvin Harrison Jr. out of the Ohio State. I think Bears fans would be jumping up and down for joy if they got Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. And if that's the way it works out, watch out. The Bears would have a bright future all of a sudden. The Raiders hit 3. Go quarterback, Drake Maye out of North Carolina, who everybody says is the second best quarterback in this draft behind Caleb Williams. I think Drake Maye would have been the number 1 quarterback the last couple of drafts had he been eligible to come out. This year, bad timing for him. He happens to be in the same class as Caleb Williams. But Drake Maye is something special. Reminds me of kind of like a better version of Carson Palmer is who I see on film when I watch Drake Maye play. Then we go to Denver. Denver's moving up some draft boards quickly, probably higher than they expected to be. Latu, the edge rusher from UCLA, ends up in this spot. A bit of a surprise. He's been climbing up boards a lot. Didn't anticipate him being at 4 to Denver. Meanwhile, Minnesota at 5, they go J.J. McCarthy, quarterback from Michigan, the 3rd quarterback off the board. Now, here's where things start to get a little weird, if you want to call it that. J.J. McCarthy, to me, I see a very good college quarterback, but I have concerns about his arm strength, how that can translate to the National Football League. Here is what Pro Football Focus's Trevor Sikkema had to say about J.J. McCarthy and the idea of him going 5 overall to Minnesota. Though PFF's big board would tell you that the number 5 overall is a bit too high for McCarthy, it feels like the NFL is keen on his potential, and it doesn't feel like the Vikings will be bringing Kirk Cousins back on another contract extension. That is true. They're not bringing Kirk Cousins back. J.J. McCarthy, there's other quarterbacks I would call before J.J. McCarthy. I would be calling the likes of Quinn Ewers, Shedeur Sanders, just to name a few off the top of my head. What do you guys think? Who ends up number 1? Who gets that number 1 pick? Is it Chicago? Is it somebody else? Is it Minnesota? Denver? Weigh in. Tell us in the comment section who gets the number 1 pick overall. It's our pinned comment today. Tell us what you think. Number 6, the New York Jets. They go offensive line as Olu Fanoshu from Penn State gets picked with this selection. Number 7, the Bengals. Isn't that just earth-shattering to even see the Bengals there, but tells you how their season's gone. They go Joe Alt, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame. And this is when this draft just starts to get nuts. Really crazy. Bo Nix, quarterback from Oregon, at number 8 overall to the New England Patriots. Oh, that one doesn't make any sense to me. Bo Nix has played very good at Oregon. No doubt about it. But I'm telling you right now, Bo Nix, he ain't an NFL quarterback. The Patriots, they might be better off just keeping Mac Jones for another year than going that route with Bo Nix necessarily. Let's tell you what PFF had to say about this pick for Bo Nix. Why New England? Why at number 8 overall? Here's what they said. Nix is an option. As a very good dual-threat player, Nix has improved his game dramatically from his Auburn days with a cumulative 69.3 passing grade under pressure the past 2 years and an 89.9 passing grade this season. He has, but I don't think that he's come far enough to be considered for the NFL anyway. Then we go to 9, and the Cardinals go with Brock Bowser, the tight end from Georgia, who is, without question, the best tight end in this draft, one of the best players in all of college football. Giants at 10, go receiver, Keon Coleman. If you watch the Giants on Monday night, it's very obvious this team is desperate when it comes to the wide receiver position. They need all the help they can get. So for them to go Keon, Coleman at 10, I think Giants fans would be pretty thrilled if that were the case. Today's edition of NFL Daily is presented by Prize Picks. Testing my skills on Prize Picks. This football season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. Now, here's what I'm looking at this weekend. Brock Purdy with more yards than the number advertised. Same with Patrick Mahomes. I think both of them can play really well. And if I'm putting $20 down, I could win 60 from Prize Picks. That's quite the deal. Sign up today. Here's what you got to do. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and code CLNS for daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, we continue now to pick number 11 to the Green Bay Packers. And they go offensive tackle, protection for Jordan Love with Amarius Mims from Georgia. Then at 12, the Saints go Chop Robinson, the edge rusher from Penn State. I like Chop Robinson a lot. He's got the best name in this draft, and he's got the best name for his position, too. Speaking of names, Kool-Aid McKinstry, the pick from the Cardinals from last year. Remember that Will Anderson trade? Goes to the Texans with this selection there at 13. And you look at what they have with that Houston Texans team. You bring in Malik Neighbors with the next pick after that. All of a sudden, you're talking about some young playmakers. Already with C.J. Stroud there, Will Anderson we mentioned. Texans start to make some noise with DeMeco Ryans potentially. Then we ran out the top 15 with Cooper DeJean, the corner from Iowa. And we don't have his picture up, but here's the shocking thing. He's a white guy. And he's going to be a top 15 pick potentially. If you are worried about a white corner, the scouts apparently seem to really like him. Then we go 16. Graham Barton, offensive lineman from Duke, goes to the Jags. Duke's played pretty well this year. Really good job of what they've done up front. Graham Barton's a good example of that. The Commanders get offensive tackle help. J.C. Latham from Alabama with the selection there. And then we go with the Rams with this next pick. They go edge rusher from Alabama, Dallas Turner at 18 overall. 19, the Falcons go with Michael Penix Jr. And I know what some of you may be thinking. Don't they have Desmond Ridder? Sure. But with where the Falcons are at, I think we can all agree. Is Desmond Ridder an okay quarterback? Yeah, he's fine. But he's never going to be more than just enough. You want more than that, right? That's what you're looking for in a quarterback to lead your team. And for me, I'm okay. As much as there's some ridiculous things on this draft from PFF, Michael Penix going 19 to Atlanta, this circumstance, them finding a young quarterback, that makes some sense to me. Here's more from PFF. You want more than enough from your quarterback. In 2024, they'll have their chance to take another shot at a starting quarterback. Penix has a rocket of an arm and has earned a 94.2 passing grade this year, having already racked up over 2,000 passing yards. 94.2, you don't have to be a genius to figure out that's a pretty good grade. Caleb King, corner from Penn State, goes to Indianapolis with the number 20 selection. Michael Penix Jr., I want to ask you guys about him. Where does he end up? Where do you think he will be playing football in 2024? Chime in that comment section. Predict who lands the Husky as their next franchise quarterback in the comment section and let us know. Next up, Nate Wiggins, corner from Clemson, ends up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers could use some help in that secondary, it would seem. Then the second wide receiver from Ohio State falls off the board to Tennessee. Emeka Igbuke ends up with that spot. And that is followed by the Seattle Seahawks getting help on the defensive line. Now, the Seahawks' interior defensive line was not good to start the year. They've played better as of late, but this makes sense at least for their long-term, potentially, going with Jerzon Newton from Illinois. Then we go to pick 24. The Dallas Cowboys go with Jared Verse, edge rusher from Florida State. I would be surprised if Jared Verse is still around at 24. I also don't think the Cowboys are going to be picking as low as 24 either. Then we go to the Detroit Lions, who go receiver, Rome Odunze with the selection at 25 overall there, getting another weapon for Jared Goff. With this pick, that also tells me that they think that they're going to hang on to Jared Goff for the foreseeable future. We'll wrap up this mock draft in just a moment, but first, subscribe now for the best NFL coverage on YouTube as we're talking about the National Football League daily with news and rumors. We also are bringing you our live shows a couple days a week, our Red Zone channel on Sundays. If you love the National Football League, this is the channel for you. Subscribe now as we cover this league like no one else does. You'll be glad you did. Hit that sub button, turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. Pick 26, Patrick Paul, offensive tackle from Houston, ends up in Miami. Tua needs a lot of protection. This could make sense for them. Then we go to 27, Braylon Trice, edge rusher from Washington, who's getting a lot of love. He's another guy that I expect to come up quite a bit on draft boards here pretty soon. Don't think that he ends up that low. Then the Buffalo Bills with their next pick at 29. They go with Cameron Kitchens, the safety from Miami. The Baltimore Ravens, they end up with Mason Smith, a defensive lineman from LSU. The Ravens looking for some help on the defensive line. Got some older pieces there. He's somebody that I don't think is necessarily going to be available that late, but we'll see where that goes. Final three picks. The Niners go with Leonard Taylor III, defensive lineman from Miami. The Chiefs at 31, they get another weapon for Patrick Mahomes, Adonde Mitchell, wide receiver from Texas. And here's the surprising thing for me with Mitchell in this spot. I think Mitchell's a fine receiver, but I would have gone with his teammate Xavier Worthy. Not to play spoiler for pick 32, but this PFF mock draft doesn't even have Xavier Worthy going in the first round. Xavier Worthy might be the second best receiver in the draft. So it makes a lot of sense for the Chiefs to go receiver, to even go a Texas receiver, but this is the wrong one. More from PFF on this selection. Mitchell feels like one of the most underrated players in the draft class right now. The 6'4" receiver has very good movement skills and has been successful as a deep threat and as a short to intermediate receiver. He feels like the total package. And the final pick, another receiver off the board, Xavier Leggett, the wide receiver from South Carolina, goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, who PFF has winning the Super Bowl. What do you think of that mock draft? I got to tell you, there was some hits, but there were some misses. I'll give it a C+. That'd be my grade. What's your grade? Get out that red pen in that comment section. Tell us what it is, and we'll see you next time here on NFL Day.